Everybody, my name is Paul. I'm a practicing real estate agent in the state of Virginia, near Lexington in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley. And I talk a lot about homesteading because that's my specialty, land and homesteading and rural properties. And a lot of people they're downsizing from a larger home and they come out the country, or they're young couples who are starting a life together out there in the rural area. And of course, they may come upon a house that they kind of like, but as their family grows or they live there, they want to expand it and alter the home in some way, or get some use of different space. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. There's a number of different areas that come into play when people want to modify their home. So I'll try to break it down to a few basic categories. One is, let's say you have a home and you know that you're going to be a growing family, and let's say you got it's a 2-bedroom and 1 bath, and you have as time goes by, you have a child or two, and then you need another bedroom or something. So one way is to go out to do what they call an addition. And now, if your house is placed in the right kind of situation, the land is amenable to that and not too steeply sloped or whatever, it isn't too much of a difficult thing to, say, take basically the side of a house. There's architects who are good at this sort of thing, and builders, and make a straight out addition, especially if it's on a slab. If you don't have to do any basement thing, just put a slab out to one side of the house, maybe add on to a bedroom or whatever. Now, that's one way. You can grab quite a bit of space that way. If you have it on your property with all the setbacks, you can often say, if you think about the space, for example, 20 by 20 is a 400 square feet. You add 400 square feet to a 1,000 square foot house, you just increased it by 40%. And then it's a whole different category. See, in a 20 by 20 area, you're probably going to be able to put at least 1 or 2 bedrooms and a kitchen or something. So you can go out, you can make a smaller addition. If you're going to go out and make an addition on your home, there's a certain basic cost it's going to cost no matter how big it is, because you got to do some excavating, or a lot of different things have to happen. So if you are thinking like, okay, I wanted like a 10 by 12 room, that's a real basic room, or a 10 by 14 room. Well, it's not going to cost that much more to go, say, 15 by 18. That's a whole lot more space, you see. So think about the economics of the space. If you're going to go all through the trouble of adding some space onto your home, then save up the money or whatever it takes to get a real significant addition, because the last thing you really need is some tiny little thing, and then years later you wish, oh man, I wish we'd had 2 more feet each way, and that would be a different room. See, so think about the dimensions and so on. Now, the interior arrangement is a totally different thing. There are homes that were built in the 20s, 30s. There's a lot of older homes that have what they call the plaster and lath. And the way they built those walls back then is they had their supporting beams just like a 2x4, but they often made like a hand-hewn 2x4s, actual 2x4s. I mean, they were literally, hardened oak or whatever. So in the old days, they kind of like cut them by hand, basically, or a small saw, Anyway, so the interior wall is what they call plaster and lath. And that stuff is a real pain to change. If you want to make an addition or break out a wall in one of those kind of homes, good luck, because I've done it, okay? So you get plaster, lath. It's a dusty procedure. It is messy, and it takes time, and it's just, Cutting a wall down. In the home that my wife and I had when I was married, we had a small post and beam home that had supposedly 5 bedrooms, but they were really tiny, so we ended up with 1 large bedroom and 2 little offices and a big open living room. But believe me, it was quite a chore, and about 5 years went by because we totally changed the total interior of the house. With skylights, that's another thing. Skylights, by the way, you can add skylights to a room if they're done professionally and right. And some of these older homes, if you see what they call the drop ceiling, okay, the second floor has a drop ceiling, and then you can take out those panels and lift it up basically and put a skylight up there. Then you have that beautiful space up, and you can have sun coming in depending on where the angle of the roof there. And that's a very delightful way to add a whole other dimension to a small house, is to have a skylight or some kind of a light, something. And then another thing about the walls, I was getting into the whole thing about plaster and lath. That is such a bitch, excuse my language, but if you buy a home like that, just try to keep it the way it is, because I have a family member who lives in a home like that. Nice home, great. I wouldn't want to live there, okay? It's not my style. It has 2 floors, and there's old style stairways, and beautiful woodwork. Fantastic. Really strong house. Man, that thing is last through a hurricane. But it's not my style. If you want to add and expand your home that you're going to be living in, then think about the way it's built now. Sheetrock walls, the common way of building homes for quite a while now, sheetrock and basically the framing and so on. That's very, very amenable to changing. And sometimes you can open up a space by just, as long as you don't get any of the supporting beams and the supporting headers and so on, you can open up a space sometimes between 2 rooms and make one large room, for example, as long as you don't, knock out any supporting beams. So there are ways that you can carefully make a half wall something. For example, you have a tiny kitchen and right next door is a dining room, but there's a door there. Sometimes people, what they do is they'll cut, make a half door or a half wall between the kitchen and dining room so they can have a pass through. And then they can put a little counter there and they can sit there. So therefore it joins the room, the dining room, and the kitchen in a way that's very efficient, opens up the space and so on. And then you have a whole different perspective. When you're in the kitchen, you can be talking to somebody in the dining room if you have some of that kind of a construction going on. Now, cabinets are another thing. Some of the older homes have built-in cabinets. A friend of mine has cabinets from the old style houses, and boy, it costs a lot of money to build those cabinets today. But don't ever think about trying to change that wall, because that's where those cabinets are going to be, and if you start tearing into that wall, it won't even be the same anymore. So also you'll find a lot of times in the old style houses, you'll find some old fireplaces that aren't really working anymore. Long ago they just pasted them over, they covered them up. In that kind of a case, sometimes you can open that up and you can make a bookshelf there, or you can put like a little gas type of thing there, electric heater or something. There's things that you can do to open it up, and when you have like a fireplace, or there used to be a wood stove, for example, in a place and it's no longer there, then sometimes you can recapture that kind of space. Now, another good thing that people can do, for example, if you have a porch on your property and you want to add on, many times there are homes that have a porch, and in case I'm thinking about, a friend of mine has a house and there's a beautiful porch, and then it also was screened in. So a really beautiful screened in porch is a delightful thing to have on a property. You can, if it's a decent kind of weather, like in many parts of the country, it's warm most of the year, you can sit out there, relax, and make a little bit of entertainment going on there. And all it takes is enclosing in part of a porch or something like that, where if you have one of those beautiful wraparound porches that some of the older style houses do, you can take a portion of that and say, okay, we'll sacrifice a little portion of the open porch and we'll make an enclosed screened in room, or even a full room with insulation and so on. So another way that people do is they open up a basement. Many times there's a basement, and some of the older homes, you open the basement door and you throw the stuff down there, the trash or whatever, or maybe you have a pantry down there or something. But some of the older basements, really, people didn't really think about using them as space. They just went down there to wash the clothes or put their pantry in or whatever, or shove the coal. In the old style furnaces, they had coal, and that's where they kept it. So some of the basements that are in homes these days, especially some of the newer ones, where a lot of builders will build a nice basement, but then you finish it, okay? And in a way, that's really good, because you can finish a home and make it the way you really like. I really urge people, when they look at homes that need a little work. I looked at one today, for example. It needed a bathroom and a kitchen, but it was from 1965. The appliances worked. Kitchen and bath, remodel a kitchen and bath, and it's gold. You're going to sell that house because it had a great foundation, great roof, great yard, everything was good on it. You just do the kitchen and bath and upgrade, and then you make it your own style, put all your new fixtures and paint in there, and you're good to go. And then you won't have to do a basement or a bathroom or a kitchen again for the rest of the time you own the house. So there's a lot of little things that you can do when you buy a house. I really like homes that need a little bit of work, because most people are going to customize their home. Some people just want to walk into the home and it's all just right. And that's not likely to happen, especially if you buy a used home or don't have it built yourself. You're likely to find a home that there's things that you can tweak with it and make it, adjust it. There's something, if you don't need a closet in the room and you have another closet or a storage shed, some of these older homes, they have a little closet there and it's really just taking up some room, and it's not a really great closet, so you can sometimes take a small room and make it into an office or make it into a walk-in closet by joining it with another closet. There's a whole lot of stuff you can do. If you buy space that's a little bit just right and not too big for you right there, then you can expand. Like I said, you can go up. That's another way people do, is they go up. There are many times in a home, especially if it's a nice ranch house or something, you could go up with an addition. It can get kind of complicated and it involves quite a bit of work and so on, but you can make a one-level house into a two-level house. You see, and then you don't have to go out on your property line or something, but you can go up, and usually, typically, a two-level house is very acceptable in almost any place in the country. A two-level house is fine. Going from 2 to 3 or 4, now we're talking a pretty big house. And another thing, a little bit of word about stairs here. Stairways, I don't like them. I lived in a little house one time, and you had the main floor, and you want to go down and wash your clothes or do something down the basement, and you go down. Okay, then you come back up, and then if you want to go to the bedroom, you go into your office, and you go upstairs. You go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. When you get a little older, you get a little tired of that. Okay, I prefer the open one-floor level type of living, but that's me. Now, there are people who don't mind the old classic houses where there's the old style beautiful stairways. I've seen some really gorgeous stairways, and some of them really curved, and yeah, they look great, but boy, that's a lot of maintenance. My preference is a little bit of a smaller home, and you can take the inside of a house. I've seen some mobile homes and some smaller homes, and like I said, if you gut them a little bit, open up some of the walls just a little bit, don't knock down any retaining walls or anything, or beams, but you can open up the inside of a house and have a little bit different flow of the energy in the house. I personally like to have an open house. Also, bay windows. You can pop a window out, make the window a little larger, and go a bay window where it does add a little bit of space, especially above a kitchen sink. That's a nice way to do it. Again, skylights, and skylights are a delightful thing. Just have them installed properly, okay? But once they're installed, it's lovely to have a skylight in your bathroom, for example, or in your living room. And I lived in a house where we had skylights over the living area and over the office and over one of the bathrooms. Actually, over both the bathrooms, there's a little bit of skylight, just because of the way they were situated. And it was just delightful to have that, because it just adds that extra little touch of light when you're in the bathroom or in your home. And when you have a full moon in the skylights, that's a really beautiful thing to have. So I want to make these videos short and sweet, so I appreciate you watching. Like and share if you enjoy the content, and subscribe, because I make a lot of videos and there's all different aspects of buying and selling real estate. I'm a specialist in rural property, and my name is Paul. I live near Lexington, Virginia, in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley. Thanks again for listening. I hope to see you in some of my other videos.